Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you all for attending today's Planning Commission. That would be the meeting of September 18th. The commission is convening today to discuss several matters. The commission is required to review these items, and our vote will advise the mayor and council prior to their actions. The bills on our agenda today will also be reviewed at various council committees and city council, where the meetings will be publicly and open to comment. Please be respectful of the process and all individuals participating at this meeting. We appreciate the dedication and enthusiasm everyone is giving to the process. Please be aware that while anyone can speak about an agenda item, staff and commissioners may not respond to every question or comment. During public comment, please only speak to the agenda items that are being reviewed. Please do not restate comments or questions that other members of the public have already commented on. The commission may request that comments from the public be limited in time so everyone may have a chance to speak. And finally, I want to take the time to thank the staff for putting these meetings together. It doesn't happen by accident. And I will now call this meeting to order and hand it back over to the staff for some safety instructions and other instructions. So I think Michael Gall is up.
Thank you, Chair. Michael Gall with Philadelphia City Planning Commission staff, here to discuss some safety items. The safety of our meeting attendees is of the highest priority. In the event of an emergency, please pay attention to announcements on the loudspeaker, which will provide detailed information. If no announcement is heard, please follow the directions of security officers and city planning staff members. You are currently in room 18029. There are two doors along the side wall to your left. These doors lead out to the elevator lobby. If an order is given to evacuate the room, the nearest stairway is to your right once you reach the elevator lobby. Follow the illuminated exit signs to reach the stairway. If an order is given to evacuate the building, the rally point is Love Park, directly across Arch Street from the public entrance to this building. Please remain at the rally point so that we can account for you. Restrooms are located across from the elevators. A water fountain is located outside of the zoning board hearing room in 18002. I'm going to hand it over to our moderator, Amy Boyd.
Welcome to the September 18th, 2025 Philadelphia City Planning Commission meeting. I'm Amy Boyd with Planning Commission staff, here to review some brief housekeeping procedures before today's meeting. During the meeting, each agenda item will be presented by a member of the Planning Commission staff. Following each presentation, the chair will ask commissioners for questions or comments. The chair will then ask the audience for questions and comments. After that, the commissioner will finish their discussion and vote. If you would like to speak during an agenda item's public comment period, click or tap on the raise hand button on the menu bar on the bottom of your screen at any time during the agenda item. You will be called on by the chair and have the opportunity to speak to the commission and the audience. If you're calling into a meeting by phone, you can press *9 to raise your virtual hand to speak. Please use the Q&A function only if you have questions about the meeting process. Please do not use this for testimony. This meeting is being recorded and will later be posted on our website. If you are in our in-person audience, please come to the table when the chair asks for public comments. Write your name on the paper provided, turn on the microphone, and speak to the commissioners. Thanks again for joining us today. And now I'll turn the meeting back over to Joe Zernick, the Commission Vice Chair.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Michael. Well, I have some good news today. We have a new commissioner joining us today, Joyce Lee. Joyce is a lead fellow, a fellow of the American Institute of Architects, and a WELL AP. She is filling the role of urban planning on the commission. And in order for her to be official, she needs to be sworn in. And our counsel here today, Len Reuter, is here to do that.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Leonard F. Reuter, R-E-U-T-E-R, Senior Attorney with the City of Philadelphia Law Department. The new member, Joyce Lee. Great. So I'll administer the oath. I, Joyce Lee, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth and the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter and that I will discharge the duties of the City of Philadelphia Planning Commission with fidelity. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and I'm sure I speak for the entire commission and probably for everyone in the audience. Okay, with that, we're going to take a roll call. So if you're present, just so signify. Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Iding, I understand he may be on the phone.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Somerville,
Present.
Commissioner Valet, Commissioner Clinton, and new Commissioner Lee.
Present.
I think I got everyone. And Joe Siernick, I'm present also. Okay. So we do have a quorum and we're ready to go. So the first order of business is to call for the approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 17th.
Move to approve the minutes?
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Valet, a second from Commissioner Iding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Executive Director for her report.
Thanks, Joe. Good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public. Thank you for joining us. My name is Octavia Howell. I am the Executive Director of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. We have some staff news. I would like to acknowledge the departure of Alex Smith, who served as both Art Commission Director and the Director of the Planning Commission's Art and Design Unit. In his time at the Planning Commission, he worked tirelessly to improve processes for both applicants and community members, all while advocating for high-quality spaces and civic resources. Alex will be greatly missed, and we wish him the best in his new role. On to upcoming meetings. The next Civic Design Review Committee meeting will take place on Tuesday, October 7th at 1 p.m. And our next regularly scheduled monthly City Planning Commission meeting is Thursday, October 16th at 1 p.m. We will host these meetings in person in room 18-029 at 1515 Arch Street and on Zoom. Tomorrow, Friday, September 19th, PCPC is excited to participate in Parking Day, a national event with over 37 parklets proposed for Philadelphia. PCPC and Otis have parklets set up on the 1600 block of Chestnut Street. Please visit Parking Day Philadelphia to see a map of the parklets throughout the city and come see us on Chestnut Street tomorrow. We have 4 streets bills that meet our policy for administrative approval. 2 streets bills were previously approved by the Planning Commission and are now requesting to extend their timelines for compliance. Bill number 230710 extends the period of compliance for bill number 230033. Bill 230033 amends the city plan to vacate Sloan Street from Ogden Street north to the SEPTA tracks for use as a part of a larger residential development. Bill number 250716 extends the period of compliance for bill number 230438. Bill 230438 authorizes the widening of Ridge Avenue and dedicates it to the city as a part of the expansion of the Wissahickon Transportation Center. 2 encroachment bills meet the city's complete streets policy. Bill number 250724 allows a sidewalk cafe at 1000 to 52 Frankfurt Avenue. This will reduce the size of the existing dumpster enclosure to maintain a minimum of 7 feet 11 inches of clear walking space. Bill number 250725 allows a sidewalk cafe at 1313 to 17 South 3rd Street. This will reduce the size of the existing dumpster enclosure to maintain a minimum of 6 feet of clear walking space. This concludes my executive director's update. I am happy to take any questions and turn the meeting back over to the chair.
So any questions of our director? We don't need to approve these, right? All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Octavia. That brings us to our first action item today, which is a zoning bill, which speaks to electric vehicle parking. And that's going to be presented by Madison Matera.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Madison Matera, she, her, with the Planning Commission staff. I'm here today to present Bill number 241064, amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising provisions for electric vehicle parking and electrical supply requirements and making technical changes all under certain terms and conditions, introduced by Councilmember Ahmad on November 14th, 2024. Before we start, this is just a quick look at the process for zoning bills. The Planning Commission weighs in to make sure that the zoning text bill is aligned with the city's overall goals for development. As part of this process, there are 2 opportunities for the public to participate during the Planning Commission meeting and during City Council Committee meeting. This bill was drafted with the help of representatives from Otis, Streets, LNI, and the Planning Commission, and it will support the electric vehicle transition in Philadelphia by increasing requirements for EV chargers in newly developed parking lots. The goals of this legislation are to increase the regional charging network, make access to EV chargers more equitable and accessible, and to establish a baseline for language surrounding the topic consistent with the latest federal standards. The current code provisions enacted with Bill number 150814 in 2016 apply only to large residential developments and only include requirements for electric vehicle supply wiring. There's no current provisions in the code requiring developers to install chargers themselves, leading to a slower growth of the EV charging network and slower adoption rates for EVs overall than is recommended in the comprehensive plan. In 2024, as the EV Working Group began to coalesce around a new series of stated policy goals surrounding electric vehicle parking, Planning Commission staff were contacted by the Office of Councilmember Nina Ahmad to begin developing legislation related to electric vehicle charging and parking requirements, which we're already preparing. Bill number 241064 was introduced with the working group's recommendations, but a number of stakeholders stepped forward with concerns and questions, including the Departments of Fire and License and Inspections. So staff worked with council to develop substantial amendments to the bill's original provisions. It's those updated provisions that we will be presenting to you today. There are 3 main types of actions that were identified in the code by the EV Zoning Working Group as being necessary to meet these goals. First, to clarify and expand the applicability of the EV parking regulations in the code. Next, to expand and modernize the requirements for EV readiness, wiring, and charging apparatus. And lastly, to define and clarify terms for consistency with the rest of the zoning code. The bill first expands the applicability of the existing EV parking requirements, which, as mentioned previously, only apply to parking lots in residential developments with 20 or more spaces. The new language would provide 2 separate standards, one for exclusively residential developments and one for developments that contain a non-residential use. The requirements for exclusively residential developments are not changing from what is currently in the code. It will still only apply if providing 20 or more parking spaces. For non-residential or mixed-use developments, the standards apply if providing 10 or more parking spaces. The requirements for exclusively residential developments are not changing from what is currently in the code. The chart below shows the current requirements. As a note, the standard only requires the wiring for potential EV chargers to be laid. No installation of chargers are required. For non-residential or mixed-use developments, new requirements are organized into a series of 3 options with varying provisions, including one that mandates fast chargers and requires public access to these chargers. I will explain this options chart in more detail later in this presentation. In order to help offset the costs of installing and maintaining this infrastructure, the proposal also adds regulatory language for non-accessory signage, including illuminated and animated signage, and sets the same requirements that exist on gas pumps and car wash kiosks, but with tighter controls on hours of operation and illumination levels. At the request of LNI, language was also added to comply with International Building Code standards for accessibility for electric vehicle charging spaces. IBC standards currently require no less than 5% of electric vehicle charging spaces provided be accessible. During our time drafting this bill, staff met with the fire department several times to ensure that proposed code changes would not create any unintended consequences with regards to fire safety. As recommended by the representatives from fire, language was added to prohibit electric vehicle parking spaces from being located above the second floor or in underground parking garages. To better implement these proposed provisions, this legislation defines terms in a manner consistent with federal standards and industry best practices. To simplify the code for plain language accessibility, it also provides redundant abbreviations as cross-references in the definitions section. Within the definition of electric vehicle supply equipment, also known as EV charger, 3 different charging levels are defined according to the latest federal standards. Looking at the below graphic, you can see the difference between the 3 levels. Level 1 chargers are just regular wall outlets. It takes a very long time to charge an EV and only adds about 5 miles per hour of charge. At the suggestion of the EV working group, level 1 chargers do not count towards any of the options in the proposed legislation. Level 2 chargers add about 20 to 60 miles per hour of charge and use the standard connector plug for EVs. The working group has set level 2 as the minimum charging standard for the proposed legislation. Level 3 chargers, also known as DC fast charging or DCFC chargers, add 60 to 100 miles per 20 minutes of charge. They use direct current energy and require special plugs to connect. The range of options was set up to encourage a mix of level 2 and level 3 chargers to meet a variety of user needs and to provide alternatives appropriate for different land uses. Another important concept to understand with this legislation is the difference between EV ready and EV installed. An EV ready space has all of the wiring required for the installation of at least a level 2 charger. EV readiness is a prerequisite for charger installation. An EV installed space is a parking space with a fully installed EV charger ready to charge. Going back to the 3 different options for non-residential or mixed-use developments, option A requires 40% of all parking spaces in qualifying lots to be EV ready, with an additional requirement that 10% of total spaces have an EV charger installed at a minimum of level 2. It sets no requirements for public access to those chargers. Option B requires 20% of total parking spaces have an EV charger installed and removes the requirement for additional EV ready spaces beyond those with chargers. It also sets a minimum of level 2 for the installed chargers and sets no requirement for public access to those chargers. Option C requires 5% of the parking spaces have EV chargers installed, but at a minimum of level 3, and it mandates that at least 75% of those parking spaces be open and accessible to the public. This option requires no additional EV-ready spaces beyond those with chargers installed. The following graphics help to understand and visualize these options a bit better. For option A, which is 40% EV ready and 10% EV installed, a 12-space lot would have 4 EV ready spots, 1 EV installed spot, and 7 spots with no wiring or chargers installed. A 50-space lot would have 15 EV ready spots, 5 EV installed spots, and 30 spots with no wiring or chargers. A 100-space lot would have 30 EV ready spots, 10 EV installed spots, and 60 spots with no wiring or chargers. For option B, which is 20% EV installed, a 12-space lot would have 2 EV installed spots, a 50-space lot would have 10 EV installed spots, and a 100-space lot would have 20 EV installed spots. For option C, which is 5% EV installed at level 3, a 12-space lot would have 1 EV installed level 3 space that is available to the public. A 50-space lot would have 3 EV installed level 3 spaces, 2 of those available to the public. And a 100-space lot would have 5 EV installed level 3 spaces, 4 of those available to the public. This bill is consistent with Objective 7.1.1A of the Comprehensive Plan Citywide Vision, expand infrastructure for alternative fuel vehicles, and Objective 7.1.2, reduce overall and per capita greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2035. Staff recommendation is for approval with amendments. We also have Anna Kelly, Senior Policy Advisor for Parking and EV Infrastructure at Otis, here to help answer any questions.
Thank you, Madison. So any questions for Madison or our representative from Otis, from the commissioners?
Hi, just have a question pertaining to existing infrastructure. So I think there was a change to say that if you're making a substantial renovation to your existing property, you would have to adhere to the new code now. So does that change? Like, let's say if I have a parking lot, would I have to, and I repave my parking lot, would I then have to add in an EV charging infrastructure or stuff like that?
Sorry. Can you hear me? My understanding is that anytime a permit is being pulled, that's what would trigger these new requirements.
Yeah, such as milling or restriping of a parking lot, that would trigger reconfiguration of the lot.
Can you just speak just briefly, I don't need a whole dissertation, but just speak briefly about the city's preparedness infrastructure wise with this type of project moving forward? I mean, there's any day, pick a day of the week that you can go, whether or not it's in a apartment, a parking lot, and cars are wrapped around the parking lot waiting for their turn, right? So what are we doing as a city on what you're seeing in Otis?
Yeah,
preparedness?
absolutely. It's a great question. So part of what the working group talked about a lot when we were designing these provisions is we see a fair amount of publicly available EV infrastructure, but very clustered around Center City. We don't see a lot of EV infrastructure available in the neighborhoods. I wish I had a map here, but it's pretty stark. So what we're aiming to do here is make sure that there's infrastructure available, particularly for folks who don't have parking, don't currently have parking available associated, like a garage where they can install a charger. Because we know 80% of folks across the country charge just at a charger in their own personal garage that they've installed. So folks that might live in multifamily housing, you know, if the landlord hasn't chosen to install it, they won't have access. So that's part of what this is hoping to address. I'll talk just super briefly about other initiatives for EV that we're working on. There's a public-private partnership that's in the works in the procurement process for more citywide charging infrastructure that's in municipal parking lots and curbside locations. So that's one item we're working on. There's also some really exciting workforce development initiatives. That's with the infrastructure solutions team over at Otis, working to make sure that any of the workforce benefits for this expansion are felt by Philadelphians, and that Philadelphians have the training to be able to do the work associated with these projects.
Thank you for that. And undoubtedly, I know Otis is following the trends of e-vehicles being purchased versus gas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's just the last thing I would note on that. PennDOT keeps very good statistics about EV uptake. We have seen huge increases year over year. But part of the issue is this chicken and egg situation where folks don't necessarily feel that they can invest in an EV until they have a solid known place where they can charge. So we can make some planning decisions based on registrations that already exist, assuming that, yeah, folks are wrapping around the block. And then there's also some of it that's expanding into areas that have low registration to make sure that people can make that leap if and when they're ready.
Thank you.
I hear from some other cities where when legislation is progressive, a lot of the bottleneck is at the electricity provider, and getting the whole electric upgrade process is really jammed up. Have you engaged in extensive conversation in PICO and others to make that process easier for owners to get that? And are there any facilitations?
Yeah, and Madison, please jump in if you'd like to. We did speak with Pico, and I work with them regularly on all of our EV work. And they do have some incentive and rebate programs as well, many of which, people who need to adhere to these new requirements would be able to take advantage of. That's uh, rebates associated with the initial work to get their electrical infrastructure up to grade, and then some discounts on the electricity itself as well. So those rebates would be incentives. I don't know, Madison, if you have anything.
Yeah, we met with them twice. Recently went with them, I think last week, just to make sure that the bill looked okay to them and it wouldn't, they would be able to provide for what we're proposing in this legislation, and they meeting went well.
I have a question. So I think this is great, but of course, everything boils down to dollars and cents. Are there any other incentives for owners to be able to access resources to make sure that they're also adhering to this new code requirement? And also, because I'm sure there's, many that want to do this, but it may be cost prohibitive because, there's trenching involved, there's the infrastructure work and, everything that goes along with that, that can make it challenging for them to be able to comply.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So the PICO rebates, as I mentioned, are pretty substantial. The other thing I would mention, this is mostly relevant for option C, or if any of the developers so choose to have these requirements, or have these chargers available to the public. The PennDOT manages the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, which is moving forward. A federal grant that is moving forward, and they have earmarked in their last documents $14 to $18 million for the city of Philadelphia specifically, pending federal approval of that plan. That would be available for grants and NOFO, that would be available. That's just for publicly available infrastructure though. So for the privately available chargers, that would largely be those PICO rebates. The other thing I would mention here is that part of the reason for doing this at, new construction, the new construction phase, or, any milling and paving is the cost to install these things when you are in the process of construction compared to, retrofitting. Those cost comparisons are huge. You save a ton of money when you just trench and install the wiring. So we're trying to encourage as much as we can, not having developers spend money later on digging up their parking lot. Yeah.
I have another question. Would parking garages, and that's maybe for you, would parking garages fit under the non-residential then?
I guess it would depend on what the parking garage is serving. But yeah, they would apply.
I guess I'm wondering if there's an appetite to increase the requirement when we're building parking garages, right? Because proportionally, that's the only thing that they do, and I guess that's a really great place to.
Yeah, if they were serving just exclusively residential use, that would be the first table I showed, that it only requires the wiring and no actual installed chargers, but it was serving as like mixed use. So if there was anything other than a residential use, it would apply to that garage.
And we've seen a couple of just explicitly parking garage projects. So in that situation, could there be a different requirement for parking garage projects? Just because that's primarily the function and that's where people are gonna go. So it seems like the most, so it's a suggestion.
Yeah, this is like a kind of a first step,
Yeah.
getting the ball moving. Definitely gonna keep looking into ways to change the code. Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to confirm, this also applies to PPA lots?
Yeah, this would be any new parking lot, or retrofitted.
They should also fall under the more spots requirement.
I have one final comment. I think that if we're trying to increase the availability in neighborhoods and communities, I think that there should be some type of information sessions that should happen in those neighborhoods, and also have representatives from PICO to speak to what resources are available so that we can be able to inform and also get more people to participate.
Thanks for the great questions.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? Hearing none. How about the live audience? Do we have anybody? who
I
has
see no
a
hands,
question?
Chair.
Hmm?
I see no hands, Chair, online.
There's nobody online.
Correct.
How about in the live audience? I'm seeing no one. Okay, well, that being the case, we would be in a position to entertain a motion. I would point out that, yes, I'd be in it. Never mind. We're entertaining a motion.
I make a motion to accept staff recommendation for approval with amendments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gonzalez, a second from Commissioner Iding. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Iding,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Somerville,
Aye.
Commissioner Valle,
Aye.
Commissioner Clinton, Commissioner Lee. We have an abstention, okay? Okay, well, the ayes have it, so very good. Thank you all. Brings us to the next agenda item. It's a streets bill. It's an encroachment bill. This is one that we saw at our last meeting. I believe we asked for 45 days to mull it over, and it's back. So let's hear about this one. We'll remember it, I'm sure.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Farrell with the Planning Commission staff. Like you said, this was brought to us at the last July meeting, and we had a 45-day hold. So this is a fence encroachment at 1338 to 44 Rising Sun Ave. So just a quick reminder of our our process. So a street encroachment is any structure or object that is built on the street or sidewalk. So in this case, it's a fence. So anytime there's a structure proposed in the right of way, a streets encroachment bill needs to be introduced. So our role is to weigh in to ensure the proposals align with the city's complete streets policy. The public also has the opportunity to weigh in on the process. One is during the planning commission meeting, and then one is during city council hearings. So just a reminder of what this looks like. This is the plan for the enclosure. So it's the area in red. It would be a 6-foot high fence that would run from the trash enclosure on the right to the patio on the left. So that's an area of 5 feet by 71 feet. So this encroachment meets complete streets policy, but it does not meet code section 11604, which regulates encroachments. So the code reads that no fence shall extend beyond the street line so as to reduce the width of the sidewalk to less than 12 feet, where the width of the street is between 50 to 60 feet. So this encroachment location is on a 50-foot right-of-way with a 12-foot sidewalk. So they would not be allowed to have a fence here by code. And just another reminder that on top of this not meeting code, staff concerned about allowing fences in general. They privatize portions of the sidewalk for businesses, and sidewalks are meant for public use. So staff did meet with the applicant at the restaurant to discuss this project and to see if we could adjust the proposal. As you can see in these pictures, the fence had already been installed. So that threw a wrench in the plans. It was still good that we had a chance to meet with them and discuss and hear their concerns. The reason they wanted to have this fence was to keep people from walking, sleeping, and other quality of life issues happening on the grates. You can see the grates in the middle photo. So they say the safety concern is that you could fall through these grates because they're old down to the basement below. So we understand their concerns. Want to ensure that we're not here to just make this a difficult process for them. But that being said, this is a precedent that we do not want to set. In the end, there are other solutions, and the public right-of-way should not be privatized. So because of this, that doesn't meet code and our other related concerns, staff recommends not for approval.
Thank you, Dan. Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Point of clarity. We asked for this to be postponed for 45 days, right? Because we wanted to make sure that the owner and their attorneys and everyone So you guys did have the meeting, but
Yeah.
they already had done the fence.
It's already, yeah.
Okay,
we
it's not started, it's finished.
It's done, yeah.
Okay, so, and then also, I believe prior meeting, I don't believe the grates were mentioned. I thought it was about containing trash and things of the like. So I heard nothing about folks sleeping on grates and homeless and so on and so forth, or unsheltered, I'm sorry, unsheltered individuals on grates. Is the owner here? Is someone here from the establishment? to
I
talk?
don't know if they're on, but they were given the link to the meeting. It would be.
I see no one with their hands up.
First of all, are there any other questions from the commissioners or comments?
No, I just have a comment. I think I recall the same conversation. There was nothing mentioned related to the grades, and I thought that we were just dealing with the trash. Disappointed that they went ahead and, didn't take the time to really work with staff to come to a mutually agreeable solution. So, yeah.
Any other from the commissioners? Hearing none, anyone in the audience wish to speak to this matter? Seeing none, Amy, how about on,
No one online, Chair.
and we have none? Oh. Would like to speak? No? I'm hearing no. Okay, with that, we are prepared to have a motion made.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation from the committee.
A second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Iding, who is very, very active on the phone today, I must say. And we have a second from Commissioner Somerville. Okay, I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Iding,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Somerville,
Aye.
Commissioner Valle,
Aye.
Commissioner Clinton, Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. This is not recommended for approval. And with that, I believe our agenda is done. And we are open to a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, and I thank everybody for allowing me to do this.
I beat
so
you,
far.
Commissioner Iding. I beat you, sir.
That's okay. I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to do this. I brought some COVID back from Ireland, so I didn't want to share it with you.
Keep that right there with you and welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you all next month.